Unexplored historical photos. These unexplored historical photos are remarkable. We've come a long way in the last couple of centuries and our lives have improved significantly. But the path to get to where we are now was not always easy. It was a constant battle for survival, while trying to improve our living conditions, wars, famine, diseases, but also triumph of human ingenuity and compassion. Priorities in life changed too as we progressed. So many things from the past might look strange to us today. Here are some significant moments from our history that will completely change the way you look at the present. The first selfie ever. Today's life can hardly be imagined without people snapping selfies all the time. You might think it is a rather recent invention, but the first selfie was taken a long time ago. We are talking about the 1800s, believe it or not. This photo dates back to 1837. When Robert Cornelius probably took the first selfie ever. And no, it was not taken by a smartphone nor posted on any social media websites. Billy the Kid. When you are one of the most famous outlaws, you do anything to stay hidden. That is why there are only a couple of photos of the legendary Henry McCarthy, also known as William H. Bonney, and most widely referred to as Billy the Kid. Not to mention that he was only 21 when Sheriff Pat Garrett shot him in 1881, so it makes sense why Billy the Kid didn't live a life long enough to have that many photos. Who would have thought that he liked to play croquet? The first subway ride. Not much after the first flight in 1903, the U.S. got its first subway in New York in 1904. George McClellan, the city's mayor, opened it and even drove the first passengers on a track that was 9.1 miles long and had 28 stations. At the time, people saw it more as a circus act than a means of transportation. Talk about how times have changed. The first photo ever. You might not think that this blurry image is a photo, but it is considered to be the oldest surviving photograph in existence. It was made by famous French photography pioneer Joseph Nicephore Niepce in 1826. It might not be what we call a photograph today, since it's what you get when you remove the areas of a non-hardened asphalt from a pewter plate exposed to sunlight for 8 hours. No wonder he did not take selfies. Popeye. Or Pablo Picasso. This photo of Pablo Picasso as Popeye was shot by famous photographer André Villers, who did portraits of many great artists. He spent almost a decade following Picasso, recording his work, but also moments like this, where he was obviously fooling around. Most ingenious artists were quite eccentric and Picasso was no exception. His look might seem random, but it is actually quite elaborate, since he was wearing a beard, a fake nose, a hat, and a rather interesting-looking pipe. Most likely one of the most underappreciated inventors of all time, Nikola Tesla was responsible for many inventions that we could not imagine our lives without today. He was way ahead of his time and often misunderstood, devoting his whole life to science and invention. He didn't even mind when others used his patents for their inventions, all in favor of science and progress. Often mistreated by his patrons, he died a poor man in New York hotel room, leaving all his inventions to humanity. Funny Einstein. Albert Einstein was surely one of the greatest scientists ever, but he obviously had a funny side too. Arthur Sass got to capture this legendary photo of the Nobel Prize winner at his birthday party in 1951. It portrays Einstein's response after he was told to smile for a photo. Also, he might have had one too many beers as well. But no one is judging. It was his birthday after all. Disney Studio Opening Day. We are all very much familiar with Disney cartoons and the genius of Walt Disney, who started it all. Nowadays, Disney owns many studios and produce feature films, not just cartoons. They have come a long way since their inception, but this photo was taken on the day they were opened. Who would have thought then that it will grow into such an empire, but it seems that commitment and dedication go a long way. The famous lion formed the MGM. It is highly unlikely that there is a single person who's ever watched a movie that is not familiar with the famous roaring lion in the MGM's opening credits. In fact, there were many lions during the years used for the MGM logo. The one in the photo is Jackie, pictured during the sound recording in his cage, while the soundstage was built around it. Not sure how those two guys felt like in a cage with a wild Nubian lion,